Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to spend some time with me on the video today. Always appreciate that. And guys, today I want to talk to you about something that I find completely unacceptable, and I think probably you will also after I get done with this video. Has to do with the tournament that was on Lake Guntersville yesterday, like some Black Friday tournament. And I'm pretty disturbed by this, and we're going to get into that in today's video. Going to give you guys my opinion of it, and definitely like to hear what your guys' feedback and thoughts on it are as well. Also, guys, before we get started, I just want to extend a big thank you out there to everybody that's taken time to subscribe here to Intuitive Angling recently, and a big thank you to everybody out there that's been supporting the channel by using all the links I put in the description. If you are one of the viewers out there that use and bookmark my Tackle Warehouse link for your tackle purchases and use all the links I put in the description, I just wanted to extend a big thank you from me and my family for doing that, because you guys are the reason the channel's on YouTube, so I really appreciate that. Okay, before I get into this, I want to comment on this tournament that was at Lake Guntersville yesterday that they absolutely destroyed them. There was, I think, 5 or 6 bags over 30 pounds weighed in. 35 pounds won the tournament. 25 pounds didn't even get you a sniff in the money. And I'm going to talk to you about how terrible this is, how this is not a good thing in the bigger picture of our sport, and sort of address the inobvious here that gets skirted a little bit. Now, first of all, I want to preface this with an example. How many of you guys out there have seen the movie Legend with Will Smith? If you haven't seen Legend with Will Smith, what the movie is about, not really a spoiler because it's been out for 15 years, but there was this scientist that developed a cure for cancer. And of course, when she came up with this cure for cancer, it was like heralded as one of the greatest things in the world, and just everybody was happy about it and thought this, cancer curing technology was the greatest thing of all time. And as it turned out, it had the opposite effect, because it mutated and created this, in the movie they turned into zombies, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to talk here. The point was this development, or this intention that somebody thought was good, mutated into something that actually was very destructive, to the well-being of the planet and to civilization. It basically almost exterminated human civilization. So the point of what I'm talking about in this video is, when you see this tournament that was at Lake Guntersville, this Black Friday tournament or something like that, it was all over social media, and you see the fact that 35 pounds to win the tournament, all these 30-pound bags, big giant bags of fish, and then the comment on several of the posts that I saw was they finished it up gushing about how big these limits were, and it said, live scoping has changed the game. Guys, that should be a huge red flag to you guys, what I'm going to talk about in this video. And every time all you guys that say I'm beating a dead horse and won't give it up, anytime something like this comes up, I'm going to bring it up, because I will carry the weight for everybody. I take the hits, I take the insults, I take the threats, I take the attempts and intimidation. I will bear the brunt of this burden for everybody, because it's the good fight to have. So anyway, this is not a good thing. If you look at this tournament and see the freak weights caught, the 30-pound bags of fish, 25 pounds don't even get you a check, and you don't see how that is inherently wrong, considering what fishing is like and what fishing is about, and how these fake artificial weights were created out of nothing but technology and forward-facing sonar. If you can't understand or equate the long-term issues and the dangers of sustainability and the threats overall to the sport from this type of catching, then I don't really think that you're fully paying attention to what is going on with this. Now, we've seen this in other things. let me get into this a little bit more, but I want to draw another analogy here. Back when I used to be a semi-professional bowler. I qualified for the regional PBA tour back in the late 70s, file for my PBA tour card and bowled in like 5 leagues a week. I was really into it. And back then, if you carried, anything over a 200 average, and if you bowled an occasional 700 series, that was considered like pro level back then. Plastic balls, rubber balls, wooden lanes. Fast forward another 10 years in the bowling end of it, and the same thing happened to bowling that's happened to fishing now, to where you had the technology as far as the ball advancements and different ball materials and different lane type compositions. They're not wood anymore, different oil patterns, the balancing and the techniques as far as how bowling balls were constructed to hold, to basically hold pass better. And you saw the scores have exploded over the past 30 years in bowling. I think back, they said something when I was bowling back in the 70s, there was an average of like something, I can't remember, it was like 5,300 games a year throughout the country. And now there's something like 300,000 a year, all because of this ball technology, because the same people, the skill level of these bowlers, if you would have taken that same skill level and put the equipment that we had back in 1979 in their hands, they would be the same type of bowlers we were back then. So in essence, technology has undermined and is in the process of destroying the same intrinsic value of bowling that LiveScope and forward-facing sonar has with fishing here. Technology is a great thing for things like medical advancements and that type of deal, but when it comes to this other type of stuff, it can be very, very destructive. So anyway, back to the Lake Guntersville tournament, and the thing that struck me wrong on this. I fished a lot of tournaments in the fall time at Lake Guntersville over the past. And prior to the cheater box, a lot of the tournaments, you'd have some anomalies with some better weights once in a while, but I fished several like Bassmaster Megabucks tournaments on the lake and other big tournaments back 30 years ago. And through traditional bass fishing techniques and bass fishing means, 15, 18 pounds, something like that, was a very good weight, very competitive. Sometimes you could win with that. You could win with 16, 17, 18 pounds a day on Lake Guntersville. Sometimes even less. I remember Rick Clunn won a tournament down there back in the late 80s with less than 15 pounds a day. Fast forward now to Lake Guntersville in 2024, when the lake is a shadow of what it was back then in terms of fish population because of the fishing pressure, yet you're still seeing these freak weights of 35, 30-pound bags that are caught with spotlighting, catching those fish that nobody knew that was there before. Now, the thing about this, what a lot of people can't grasp and a lot of people don't understand is those fish that people are catching, like at Lake Guntersville, the fish that they're spotlighting out there that are roaming around in those, under the bridges and in the current areas and, channel edges, wherever they're spotlighting these giant fish out there, those fish need that water out there. They've had that water to themselves for decades, and they need that to have some type of a deep offshore sanctuary to get away from the fishing pressure, to ensure that the brood stock survives, to ensure that the populations of the fish have habitat to get away from the anglers. But when you have the technology now that allows anglers to go out there and find any bass that's on the lake and see that bass in real time and be able to coerce and harass that bass into biting simply because you can read its movement, you see it moving in real life time, that is when you have crossed the line into something that is unsustainable, not only to the future of the fish populations, but just to the overall everything what the sport is about, which we've talked about a lot in this particular series of anti-LiveScope videos. So the point of which is we can't ever normalize this. When you see a tournament out there and somebody makes a comment that spotlighting has changed the game, you have got to resist that. You have got to fight it, and you've got to do everything you can to undermine that technology and make it where it does not take over our sport, which it is right now. There's nothing inherently valuable about going out there and catching 25 pounds of bass, spotlighting, and not even getting a check, and seeing a 7-pound average win a tournament in the fall time of the year, and be happy about that. It's the same thing that here's another analogy I want to draw with that. Let's say that there's this no holds barred, deal on technology goes anywhere. Now, you tell me the difference. It's like if these guys at Lake Guntersville could have a piece of technology on their boat that allowed them to scope and scan any place on the lake and see any fish that's moving there and target every one of those fish. You tell me what is different than a deer hunter being able to fly a drone over a 500-acre section of woods out there and locate the deer on that drone, and then go over to the GPS coordinate where that deer is and shoot that deer simply because they saw it on the drone. They would have not have known that deer was sitting, bedded down behind, a lay down tree in the, 3 miles away from where they were. They never would have known that deer was there if they didn't see it on that drone. And it's the same with those guys that were catching the 30-pound bags at Lake Guntersville yesterday. They never would have known that those bass were not out there roaming around if they didn't have that cheater box to show them. There's no difference at all. You can't, to try to justify and to try to differentiate the difference between that analogy I made there is just hypocritical, and it's laughable. So when I saw that, the first thing that I saw, I was disgusted by it. I was disgusted by 5 30-pound bags and a 35-pound bag of fish at Lake Guntersville in November. I didn't see, that doesn't impress me at all. I would be more impressed if they had the same tournament where spotlighting wasn't legal and everybody had traditional bass fishing techniques, and somebody went out there and won the tournament with 15 pounds, and they explained about how they developed this pattern and broke down the technique in the area, and they experimented with and tweaked their colors, and they had to line up their boat positioning perfect, in order to cast right down the right edge of this boat dock to get a 15-pound bag. That impresses me more than some guy catching 35-pound bag on a forward-facing minnow or a swim bait with a cheater box. I'm not impressed. It doesn't impress me at all. It's like that is just an illegitimate catch, in my opinion. Every one of those 30-pound bags, in my opinion, was an illegitimate catch simply because of the way they were caught. Now, I'm speculating just from all the comments that they were all caught with a cheater box. I don't know that for sure. If you're one of those guys out there that actually fish like a real bass fisherman, then apologies, and you did a great job. But I highly suspect, based upon all the gushing comments about the cheater box, that that's how they were all caught down there. So anyway, guys, I'm just disgusted by it. You should be too. I mean, if you look at the bigger picture of this, if you look at the bigger picture of it from something other than what is a selfish motive, because live scope and forward-facing sonar is a selfish piece of equipment because all it does is benefit a person. Me. It's what I can catch more. It makes my fishing easy. It's a me. There's nothing in it about the bigger picture as far as the sustainability of the sport and the heritage and the whole intrinsic value about fishing is that we pass on to our next generations. None of that. There's zero redeeming qualities in forward-facing sonar whatsoever. It's the most destructive piece of technology that has ever been developed in the sport on every single level, and it's only getting worse, guys. The state of the cheater box right now is in its infancy because they don't have any guardrails on them. When you have major multinational corporations that have billions of dollars to pump into R&D, do you think that they're going to stop at the current state of forward-facing sonar? They are going to take it to as high of level and as complex of a level as they possibly can to try to make as much money as they can, and to hell with the fishing. It's like that doesn't matter to them at all. It's about what they can make now, how much they can make now, and damn everybody else. We're going to make the profits. So again, the point of the video here is, guys, I'm telling you right now, get on the right side of history, get on the light side, get away from the dark side, start fighting the good fight, do everything you can to undermine the future of forward-facing sonar in the sport. Because when you do that, you will look back, you will be looked back upon as the heroes in the sport. And all these guys out there right now that are enabling and pushing forward-facing sonar, when we're dead and gone, and 2 or 3 generations from now, if bass fishing still exists, they're going to be looked at as the biggest villains the sport ever had. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about it. We'll talk later.